Hello, we're going to continue our talk of real-world interest problems, and we're going to talk about compound interest. Now, this is usually the kind of interest most banks give today, most investments give today. If you have a credit card, if your parents have a credit card and you don't pay it off every month, they're going to charge you interest. So most of the time in problems they talk about interest, we're talking about compound interest because it's the most common type today. But before we talk about interest, during the lockdown, it seems from social media, the big thing around the world is baking bread. Everybody's baking bread. People have never baked before. Have you tried baking any bread while you've been on lockdown? Well, I have a question for you. What did the bread dough say to the baker? What did the bread dough say to the baker? We'll find out, see what all the fuss is about bread when we're done. Okay, so before we talk about compound interest, it's really useful to compare this to what simple interest would be. So let's just very quickly have a look. What if I was doing simple interest on this problem? Okay, and again, if they don't tell you, the problem doesn't tell you, you can just assume that the interest is per annum unless they say otherwise, because that's the most common way of doing it. So simple interest, 5% interest on £8,000. So 5% interest is 0.05 times 8,000. We don't really, again, most of these problems you can be using a calculator. We'll see why in a second. 10% is 800, 5% is 400, isn't it? Okay, so over 4 years, I'm going to get 400 pounds each year. I'm going to get 1,600 pounds of interest, and my total money will be 8,000, will be 9,600 pounds. Okay, it's 600 pounds, not dollars. I'm American, I like to think in dollars, or Australian also like to think in dollars. Okay, so in simple interest, this is what we had. All right, we're going to get 1,600 pounds in simple interest. If we're simple interest, 9,600 pounds. Let's see about compound interest. Okay, compound interest, we're going to take advantage of multipliers. Okay, and we'll see why they're going to be so useful here in a second. So what's the value at the end of 4 years? Well, let's work out 1 year. Okay, at the end of 1 year, it's going to be 8,000. Okay, I'm going to get 5% interest. So I'm multiplying, my multiplier is 1.05, isn't it? Because I'm going to get 5% interest, I'm going to add it on. So 8,000 times 1.05 into our calculator. Again, most of these problems, we're going to use our calculator. Gives me 8,400. That's how much I'll have at the end of 1 year. Now, let's look over at simple interest. How much would I have after 1 year? I'm earning 400 pounds interest a year. I started with 8,000, so after 1 year, I've got 8,400. So after 1 year, it's the same. No difference. Now, this is where the power of compound interest kicks in. Let's look at the second year. Okay, compound interest, remember, simple interest, you get the same amount of interest every year. 400, 400, 400, 400. Compound interest doesn't work that way. So to work out how much interest I'm going to have the second year, at the end of 1 year, I had 8,400. So to work out how much money I'm going to have after 2 years, I'm going to start with 8,400. And I'm going to get 5% interest, which is a multiplier of 1.05. And what is that going to give me? So I'm starting with 8,400 times 1.05. I'm going to have 8,820. 8,820. I'll tell you what, just to make a nice little comparison, over here, let's compare what we have simple interest. After 1 year, 8,400. How much do I have after 2 years for simple interest? Well, I just add another 400 on. 8,800. Oh, look at that. Already, after 2 years, I have 20 extra pounds if I do compound interest. What about the third year? Well, at the end of the second year, I have 8,820 in my bank account. So I'm going to start with 8,820. I'm going to get 5% interest. Okay, so I'm going to multiply by 1.05. Again, we're using our calculator on these. I'm going to get 9,261. How much would we have if we'd use simple interest? Well, I have 8,800. I get another 400. I'm going to have 9,200 if I have simple interest. Hopefully you're seeing, right, after 2 years, I only had 20 extra pounds. After 3 years, I have 61 extra pounds. What about after 4 years? I have 9,261. That's how much I have at the beginning of my 4th year. I'm going to get 5% interest on that. So I'm going to multiply by 1.05, and I get 9,724 0.05. Remember, all money problems just automatically round to 2 decimal places. Well, how much do I have of simple interest? Well, I have 9,200. I add another 400. I'm going to have 9,600, right, which is what we worked out over here. So now suddenly I have 124 extra pounds by using compound interest. So the difference is simple interest, I just get the same amount of interest every year, calculated on the principal, on what I started with. Every calculation was based off that 8,000. Compound interest, my interest, it compounds. So I not only earn interest on that 8,000 I invested, but I also earn interest on the money that I'm earning. Right? Notice the second year, I'm working at 5% of 8,400, not 8,000, because I've earned 400 pounds of interest. So I'm not only getting 5% on my 8,000, my principal, I'm also getting 5% on that 400 I earn. So over time, it's really going to start to make quite a difference. Just over 4 years, I've ended up with 124 pounds and 5 pence extra, just over 4 years, just between the difference. Now, there's going to be a shorter way of doing my calculations for compound interest. Still using my calculator. Let's look at what was happening here. Okay, so for the second year, I did 8,400 times 1.05, all right? Well, what is 8,400? 8,400 is, I can replace 8,400 with 8,000 times 1.05, can't I? Because in the first row, 8,000 times 1.05 is 8,400. What about, okay, so now after the second year, I have 8,820. Look at this, I can replace here the 8,820 by 8,000 times 1.05 times 1.05, right? 8,820, if I look at the second row, is 8,000 times 1.05 times 1.05. Now, so after 3 years, I have this, all right, which is 8,000 times 1.05 3 times. So in the fourth year, I can replace 9,261 with 8,000 times 1.05 times 1.05 times 1.05, and then multiply by 1.05. So what do we notice here? After 4 years, I'm just doing 8,000 times 1.05 4 times. After 3 years, I did 8,000 times 1.05 3 times for 3 years. 2 years, I did 8,000 times 1.05 twice. Right? And as we said, for 4 years, I multiplied by 1.05 4 times. Each year, I multiply by 1.05. So what's the shortcut? All this working out I've done here, you're not going to need to do. What is your working out going to look like to solve this problem? It's simply going to be 8,000 times my multiplier, 1.05, 4 years to the 4th power. Try that. Put that in your calculator, and you should get 9,724.05 pounds. Look how quick and easy and straightforward that calculation is. The only working out you would need to do for this problem is what is in red. Okay, let's go look at another problem then. Okay, so Alberta invests 2,000 pounds for 3 years. What's the total value at the end of 3 years? Again, we can do the shortcut here. 2,000 pounds. All right, investing 3 years at 10% compound interest. 10% interest. What's my multiplier? My multiplier is times 1.1, right? That's 10%. 100% plus 10% is 1 plus 0.1. 3 years to the 3rd power. All I need to do is put that in my calculator. 2,000 times 1.1 to the 3rd power is 2,662 pounds even. That's how much. Again, I don't have to go through all the steps, right? If I was going to go through the steps, right, I would do 2,000 times 1.1 and get that answer, and then do that answer, right? I'm just going to call that answer A, and then I would do A times 1.1, which would give me a new answer, all right? And then I would take, let's call that B, then I would do B times 1.1. So I'm just starting with my original, and multiplying it by my multiplier to the power. Last example, all right? Rohit invests $6,500 for 6 years at 8%. What's the total value at the end of 6 years? Okay, so again, we can use the power of our formula, 6,500. 8% compound interest. What's the multiplier? The multiplier is 1.08. That's how I increase something by 8%. I add 8% to 100%, get 108%, 1.08. For 6 years, I need to multiply by 1.08 6 times. 6,500 times 1.08 is how much I have after 1 year. Multiply by 1.08 to get after 2 years. Multiply by 1.08 to get after 3 years, and so on. So that's your working out. That's what you need to write down. Yes, you're going to put it in your calculator to the 6th power. You need to know how to do something to the 6th power on your calculator. 10,314. Okay, now I have a decimal that's more than 2 decimal places long, so I automatically round it to 2 decimal places, which is going to be 0.68. Remember, money problems, you automatically round to 2 decimal places. That's it. That's my working. That's my answer. Not bad. Look at that. I started with 6,500 pounds, and after 6 years, I've got over 10,000 pounds. The power of compound interest. This is how you get rich with compound interest. Go start putting your money in the bank now with compound interest. This is how you get rich. Trust me. Okay, so let's back to the lockdown craze around the world is baking bread. So what did the bread dough say to the baker? It's nice to be needed. See you later.